Thank you. Councillors and visitors are reminded to switch off your phones or turn them to silent, please. And we say welcome to everybody. I'd also like to welcome those viewers who are watching the meeting via the live stream at home. And if I could ask you all now to please be upstanding, and Deputy Mayor Proud, if you could read out the opening prayer, please.
Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen. And Councillor Olo, could you please read out the acknowledgement of country?
Thank you. On behalf of councillors, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wodjar people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respect for elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of this meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. Brings us to item 1, which is the official opening of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 29th of August 2023 open at 6:31 p.m. Acknowledging it is a significant agenda tonight. This is the last council meeting as we head into caretaker mode. So it's the last one where significant decisions can be taken by this council. And as such, that's why so many city officers are sitting there, and they're joining those members of the gallery waiting for their turn to come and provide advice to council as we get our way through this. Item 2, attendance and apologies. We have an apology from Ms Kerry Flynn, the Internal Auditor. Item 3, approved leave of absence. We have a approved leave for Councillor Bianca Sandri, granted the leave for 29th of August. And we have Councillor Tony Kristovich, granted the leave of absence for the period of 28th of August 2023 to 17th of October 2023 inclusive. Item 4, disclosure of interest. There are no disclosures from the Audit Committee meeting held on the 21st of August 2023. Council meeting tonight. Councillors, are there any further disclosures? Sorry, there was one. It's on the board behind me from Councillor Reid, that is there, and from Mr Michael Quirk. Further disclosures? Yes. Mr Blanchard?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a disclosure from Councillor Hatton in relation to item 12.2 TE2, the Hammersley Golf Course redevelopment. It's an impartial interest as he's a member of a social club at the Hammersley Golf Course.
Thank you. Councillor Dudek?
Yeah, I have a disclosure for 12.2 RL1, as my brother is the Vice President of Balga Soccer Club.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan?
Yes, I want to make a disclosure about the
Just your microphone, please, Councillor.
Yeah, I'll make a disclosure about on one of the items on the grants program.
Thank you. If you could just do the paperwork for that. Councillor Farrelly?
In regard to the grants program as well, I'll have to make impartial disclosure because I know some of the people involved in that.
Sure.
I'm just trying to look. I don't think of anything else at the moment.
I think the Scarborough hubs.
In the notice of motion?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yes, definitely the Scarborough Hubs notice of motion. Partiality.
Thank you. If you can just do the paperwork for that. Councillor Reid, did you put your hand up before, or was it the one that's already up there?
Well, the one that was, I was wondering why it didn't get into the agenda. But the only other one was with some of the grants and the events sponsorship, but I don't know whether, because that's previously it was said it was across the city, so therefore all councillors are somehow involved, so therefore we didn't have to. But I'm mindful of the fact that some of the councillors are showing impartiality, but so...
Yes.
I
would think you're being all right, considering it's gone through a process, Mr Blanchard. Can we just have confirmation for councillors?
Thank you. It would depend on the nature of the interest and whether you held an office in relation to any of those organisations.
Yeah, I think if you're a financial member of the club or you hold an office of one of those clubs, you probably should. But if it's just because you go to the club and you support them as a councillor, I wouldn't think so.
That's fine.
Just keep an eye on it, councillors. There's a big agenda, so as we go through, if you see an item, just put your hand up and fill the paperwork out, please. Item 5, petitions. 5.1, Councillor Migdale, you have a petition requesting a removal of plane trees?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, I do. The following petition contains 22 verified signatures. It has been received by the City. On the 27th and 28th of July, the City of Stirling planted 15
London plane trees bordering the perimeter of Beverley Murchison Reserve in Coolbinia. Comments made by the Parks and Gardens personnel installing the trees to local residents at the time advised that the trees should grow to around 40 feet tall within 12 years. Not being local Australian species, London plane trees are well known for their detrimental effects on the environment, being excuse me, excessive leaf and seed pod litter that can cause blockage to local drains and result in flooding to nearby residents, produce pollen that can cause significant health issues such as asthma attacks in nearby residents who suffer from asthma and other breathing difficulties, produce an aggressive invasive root system that can lift pavements and roadways, impact the overall amenity of local residents by blocking existing vista views onto the park, results in significant leaf litter which will fall onto the properties of residents, resulting in unreasonable expense and time to remove. We, the undersigned ratepayers of the City of Stirling, who reside opposite the Murchison Beverley Park in Coolbinia, request the removal of the plane trees because of the reasons noted above. The petition has been forwarded to the Parks and Sustainability Unit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other unverified petitions that need to be presented this evening? If not, could I have a mover and a seconder for that petition? Councillor Meekdale, seconded Councillor Reid. Just a show of hands to accept the petition. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Then go to item 6, responses to previous questions from members of the public taken on notice, and those public question time responses are published in the minutes of that meeting. 7 is public question time, and I'll invite Mr. William Meek, if you'd like to start us off and come forward. Thank you, sir. And if you can just put the microphone up to the right height, this part here, and then press the bottom right-hand corner. There'll be a silver button, and that red light will stay on. You don't need to touch that again. And if you'd like to start with your name and suburb, and then your first question, please.
Yes, my name is William Meek. I live in Calais Road, Scarborough. And my question relates to the traffic management problems that exist in our section of Calais Road. Recently, 2 of the businesses in that area have significantly increased their seating capacity, and that in turn is going to further aggravate the problem in the street where it's impossible for cars to move in a two-way sense because of parking on both sides of the road. So my first question was, what consideration of the already problematic parking situation was given when presumably 2 of the local businesses were recently allowed by council to increase their capacity?
Thank you for that question, and I guess in 2 parts. The first one is I'm aware there's an item on the agenda this evening. Councillor Farrelly has been following that up to ask for some traffic sort of monitoring around that area. But I'll get Ms Shears to provide some comments just on the actual activation permits and the seating. Thanks. Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question, Mr Meek. Those tenancies in that vicinity, as far as City's aware, are operating within their approvals. What you may be referring to is the footpath activation permits that were issued in 2020 and 22 for 2 of those tenancies, which may present as additional seating. But we don't actually control the number of patrons that those tenancies can have. For any parking issues, we do recommend that you contact the city's rangers at the time that those parking issues are occurring so that they can attend promptly.
Yes, my question didn't relate to parking infringements. It's just to the system of parking whereby the local businesses have no designated parking, unlike the Brighton Road shops where there are 7 businesses and 80 parking spaces. Opposite our home, there are 6 businesses and 13 parking spaces. So consequently, all of the staff and patrons for those businesses park in the street on both sides where there's no limitations. And when you do that, there's 3.1 metres left for traffic to flow in both directions, and it's impossible. My second question is, given the deterioration in safety that is now being created in this section of Calais Road, what measures will council take to resolve the problem?
And thank you for that question. Look, the area is well known to council, and I know it's well known to the officers, and it's been previously assessed. And while it's not a fantastic outcome for everyone, it is deemed to currently be safe. Notwithstanding that, the councillors have been raising this, and officers have committed to further review that and have a look at better outcomes for that side. It's not unique to that particular one. While Brighton Road does have car parking, and as do other local centres, there are plenty like the one you're referring to on Calais Road that, you know, in the days when they were local centres with a milk bar and not much more there, they tended to work. But we understand that the increased intensity in that area is creating issues for you, and we'll look into it.
If I could just add one comment that might be helpful to council. If there were to be restricted parking on one side of Calais Road, then you would be able to have two-way traffic, and the cars that couldn't park there would be easily able to park on either Ewan Street or Stewart Street.
I
where there's
appreciate
plenty of room.
I appreciate that, Mr. Meek, and as part of the studies, we'll make sure city officers are in contact with you to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ian Grandage, if you'd like to come up, please. And your questions, please.
Good evening. My name's Ian Grandage. In my capacity as the Artistic Director of the Perth Festival, I live in White Gum Valley. My question is Council aware that Perth Festival wishes to bring an exclusive hub of activity to the City of Stirling, bringing an exciting and immersive program of events to a range of locations through this diverse city? During the third week of the 2024 festival, this is the 22nd to the 25th of February 2024, making the City of Stirling the only metropolitan local council outside the City of Perth that the festival will activate and invest in for Perth Festival 2024.
Thank you for that question. Sounds like you might be up for a sponsorship this evening, Mr. Grandage. Yes, the City is aware that the Perth Festival is up for sponsorship and will be considered this evening by Council.
Great. I have a second question. Are you aware that the Invisible Opera is a work of international standing that's appeared in New York, Singapore, Germany and Melbourne, and will attract significant public and media interest? And following that, are you aware that hosting this performance at Scarborough Beach will both celebrate that place by sharing its iconic stories, but also elevate it to the international standing that it so richly deserves?
And thank you for that as well, and I'm sure Council are now aware of that. We should do this all the time. Where's our director? We should do this all the time for these sponsorships, because it brings the paper to life, don't you think? It's good. Yes. Thank you.
No, you don't want me to sing. I'll dance though.
And your third question, please.
My third question, and thank you for your time. Are you aware that a number of City of Stirling community groups from across all of the wards of the City of Stirling, local businesses and artists, will be involved and engaged as part of Perth Festival 2024, should you choose to sponsor the festival, with significant social, economic and cultural benefits for the city?
And thank you for that question. And we certainly are aware of the benefit when we sponsor significant events, of the ongoing impact it has in the community. So thank you.
Great. Thank you for your time, if there's no questions.
Sam Danucci.
Good evening. Sam Danucci from Chewett Hill, one of the best areas of our beautiful city. Look, I was here last time to raise some concerns about the Safe Active Street project for Hector Street. So first of all, I'd like to thank the city representatives who sent out an email about a week ago to residents in the area inviting further feedback on the Hector Street project, which is one of the things I was asking for. So I'd like to thank the council representatives who initiated this attempt to gather information. And while this indeed is a positive and proactive approach, I have neighbours who are not on the email list and did not receive the electronic invitation to respond to. The initial engagement report indicated that at the commencement of the project last year, some 2,200 people who live within 400 metres of the proposed Hector Street development were contacted by letter. Now, recently in May, during the community consultation, we were advised that there were only about 200 people on the email or contact list that had previously responded to the surveys and provided a public comment on Hector Street. So our assumption, therefore, is that only 200 emails were sent out last week. So as 200 people is not really representative of the people who will be directly affected by the project, I'd just simply like to ask, would the City of Stirling be prepared to send out further correspondence to 2,200 people that it initially contacted in the early planning stage of the project, outlining the project in some detail and of course inviting extensive feedback? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, there's already been quite a lot of consultation, and I understand the questions about who actually received the letter and the email, etc. So we're happy to look at it again. I mean, I think I said that last meeting that we'd put things on hold to do a bit more work. So happy to look at how we contact those people who, you know, need to give us some feedback. That's not a problem at all.
And thank you for the emails you sent me last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellis. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Your name and suburb.
Peter Ellis in Corrine. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councillors, all staff, fellow ratepayers, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
With your kind permission, Mr. Mayor, can I congratulate Mr. Roddick on his appointment? And when does the newly appointed CEO commence?
Beginning of January.
Thank you. And on page 160 of the City of Stirling Annual Report, it lists employee costs for 2017 of $74,165,997 and $71,513,218 for 2018 and $112,916,632 for 2023 and projected to $117,915,528 for 2024, an increase of $43 million in 7 years.
That's just the councillors, Mr. Ellis.
I know, Mr. Mayor, you're buying a new Rolls Royce.
Let's get Miss Hawkins to provide you some information.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Ellis. And I appreciate we touched on this last week. So with regards to the amounts, the 74 million, etc., going through the years are the actual spends, as opposed to the budget, which also includes an overhead recovery to capital projects. I can certainly provide you more information in detail, if that would be helpful.
I just took the information out of your annual report, so that was just the
Just
cost.
yeah,
Cost.
apologies,
It was
Mr.
just a
Ellis, yeah,
cost
that-
increase. Thank you
that
very
two
much for
different,
your
yeah,
answer.
that two different figures. Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
That's right.
How much does the departing CEO receive in payment when the one-year contract finishes in March, April 24?
We'll have to provide you that
Okay,
in writing.
thank you.
That would be the end of his contract, so it would only be leave entitlements that are left.
Okay. And when does, I've already asked that, haven't I? When does the newly appointed CEO commence work?
Yeah, so the newly appointed CEO is the plan is to start in the beginning of January.
Okay.
Mr. Jardine will stay on as a handover period.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, councillors, for your time.
Thank you. Roland Hadley. Mr. Hadley, your name and suburb to start. Thanks.
Still Mr. Hadley, Woodlands.
Yep.
Question 1. At a recent council meeting, the present mayor, Mr. Irwin, declared that the City of Brisbane's transport system is not a trackless tram. For those who have received a copy of Brisbane City Council's reply, will probably agree that it is exactly a trackless tram. And in a lot of people's opinions, it'll operate like a trackless tram, and it is a trackless tram. However, I digress. Briefly mentioned in the Stirling webpage was minor infrastructure work will be required to accommodate the expensive sample tram, beg your pardon, into the council's overflow car park, resurfacing the road and some modifications to allow entry from Cedric Street. Please advise the ratepayers how much this so-called minor works will cost and list each individual modification, please. And of the $2 million grant we received from the federal government, can all parties please provide details of the expenditure?
Yeah, happy to provide that in writing. Mr. Hadley, the report itself actually details some of that. So the works aren't overly significant in the car park. Some of them were actually
What
works.
I'd just like to say,
Let me just answer. Some of the works were just resurfacing of the overflow car parking, which was due to be required in the coming financial year. And then there's just some small works to modify a couple of corners to get it to operate there. We're happy to provide that in writing to you.
Thank you. Question 2. Many ratepayers may query why another $200,000 has to be spent to provide shade at the admin centre forecourt. Was there no sun shining when this building was first constructed many years ago?
I certainly wasn't on council when it was constructed, but that item is on the agenda for council to consider this evening. It has been brought up by ratepayers who've been here at question time, and council are on the belief that right now it is a very concrete centric jungle, and that planting trees there will create more amenity for the public who visit and the staff.
Pity wasn't done initially in the first place, but never mind. As regards coloured lighting for the admin building, we must insist that the flash lights that do happen and spell out pay your rates here. To me, it's a negative flashbulb moment. That's just my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Look, the council will consider that, but the lighting is something that's very common throughout Perth and throughout Australia, to be able to highlight significant events and perhaps use it as more proactive marketing rather than actually put sign scripts on the side of the building. So council will determine that in future. And I'll ask Leisha Jack if you'd like to come and finish off for us. Your name and suburb, please.
Hello, Leisha Jack, Karrinyup. Good evening, councillors, staff and members of the gallery. Firstly, I'd just like to congratulate the city for addressing the front of the council building, which is a brutal concrete heat sink. The city's a very wealthy local government, and I really hope that you'll maximise the trees and vegetation out there and hopefully turn the pond into a freshwater pond with native plants, reeds, and provide a much needed source of water for birds and maybe a frog or two, which will be lovely clear water. Anyway, my first question.
I appreciate that feedback.
That wasn't a question.
No, that's all right, but I don't think it can happen. I think that water's actually used. That water is actually the fire system. I found that out recently.
Well,
So
Mr
the goldfish
Murphy
wouldn't
would
like
be aware that the most popular form of pool being put in the UK now is a natural swimming pool. You can, I'll send it to you.
We'll work on it.
The water's filtered by natural, native, by plants, water plants.
Anyway, your questions.
Yes, question one. Quite a few City of Stirling elected members view healthy exotic trees, and by exotic I mean trees that are native to other countries, or even tree species that are just from other regions in Australia or WA as fair game to be removed from city-owned and managed land and from private land or that's up for development, regardless of the health, canopy cover of the tree, the canopy size of the tree, etc., if they're in the way of developments or drop a few nuts. They are vilified as exotic and removed. In fact, non-local trees were approved for removal by a majority on this council to supposedly help native bushland patches along the fairway of the Mount Lawley Golf Course. So, following this rationale of giving precedence to local native species over foreign species, can you please explain, Mr Mayor, why introduced cats, both pets and feral, take precedence in the minds of these same elected members over local native bird species and wildlife?
That's a big bow to draw. I can't see the link, but
oh, really?
No.
So exotic cats, no.
And exotic trees.
But exotic trees.
You'd have to.
Oh, sorry. Exotic cats, yes. Exotic trees, no.
So rather than the tree analogy, which as I said, I've missed it. Can you ask? I'm not sure what your question is about cats.
Okay. So can you please explain to me why exotic trees are disregarded?
No, forget about the trees. You wanted to know about cats.
Yes,
What's your actual question about cats?
Cats are exotic, Mr Mayor. They're imported. They're not native. But
so I don't get what we've done with cats.
Okay, because I believe that there are members of this council who think that cats are more important than our local native birds species that are native to this local area.
Thank you.
And wildlife.
Okay, I disagree. I don't think that's the case, and I think I can get some information from Mr Quirk, but I think we have got laws around all of our wetland and protected areas.
No, not just protected areas, the whole area. Birds don't know whether they're protected or not areas. Okay, sorry. Question two. Okay, regarding item 12.2, potential local law, trees on private land. Despite this misleading title and the negativity in the report. It is not about stopping private landowners from removing trees from their land. This item relates to a petition that the ratepayer Simon Wheeler put up to see if there was a way of stopping trees from being cleared before plans and building permissions have been approved, just in case new landowners would like to incorporate some of the existing trees in their new development. A lot of people really like trees and they add values to properties and neighbourhoods.
Just need a question.
Yeah, the question is, rather than trying to find excuses as to why these sorts of laws or a local law can't be found to find some sort of a temporary pre-approval protection, just temporary. Will the city try really, really hard to see if they can come up with some sort of a law to just temporarily protect the trees?
Thank you for that question. And look, following on from committee, that was the intent of holding it over to get more information, and I believe one of the councillors has some further information regarding it tonight, so it will be considered by council this evening.
Okay. Are councillors aware that London plane trees, which are planted all around the world, and box trees, they're planted as street trees for very good reasons. And the reason they're planted as street trees is it's really hard to find tree species that will grow along roads and in pavement and footpaths. They grow fairly quickly, they're very hardy in our climate, and they grow a nice big dense canopy, so pedestrians, cyclists and people around the area can walk around in the shade. Shade was a really big deal for our forefathers when they planted these trees, and they're still planted to this day for those reasons. So that's one thing. Did you know that's why they're chosen?
That's not your question, because this is your last question, so let's make it count.
Okay, all right. Well, there's got a part B to this question. That's one question. Are you aware of why they're planted there? They have very, very important features.
Council's very aware of the box trees and plane trees,
so part
but I
B
think
is...
I and yourself are the only two fans of them in Stirling. But
I grew up with box trees in Mount Hawthorn with Bare Feet and Dinella.
Your question, quickly.
And part B is are the councillors aware that research is now showing that asthma can be prevented and really, really helped by increasing the fibre in the diet, in your diet?
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that, but we are now. Okay. Thank you. And sorry, can I just get someone to pop up and just touch that button for us? Thank you. That is off. Thank you, everyone. And that brings us to the end of public question time and takes us to item 8, which is the applications for leave of absence. We have Councillor Joe Ferranti requesting a leave of absence for the 29th of August. And Councillor Teresa Olo has requested a leave of absence for the period 16th of October to the 29th of October 2023. Well, that's a smart couple of weeks to be away. Yes. Are there any further requests for leave of absence, councillors? No other requests. If I can get a mover and a seconder to approve those. Move Councillor Rees, seconded Councillor Thornton. And a show of hands, councillors, just to approve those. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 9, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I have a mover and a seconder to accept the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 15th of August? Move Councillor Olo, seconded Councillor Hatton, and a show of hands to accept those minutes, please, councillors. That is unanimous. Thank you. Announcements by the presiding member, I have nil. Unresolved business from previous meetings, I have nil. Brings us to item 12, which is reports and recommendations of committees. Councillors, these have all been debated at length at committee. Can I ask if you have a simple question that can be taken offline and asked for an officer, don't pull the item out. Otherwise, I will ask, first of all, with the audit committee, are there any of these reports that need to be pulled out, councillors? If there's no indication, I will go to Councillor Lagan to move the reports on block.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I move the balance of reports.
Thank you. And a seconder for those, please. Seconded, Councillor Migdale. So that is 12.1A1 through to 12.1 CG1, the audit committee reports, and I will put that to the vote. And that is unanimous. Sorry, how many? I've just got to. Councillor Thornton, sorry, just need your vote. Sorry, I got confused. I couldn't remember how many votes we had tonight. Yeah, it's been approved. It's been done? Yep, great. So we've got 12. Thank you. That is unanimous, councillors. Members of the gallery and those viewers at home, the Audit Committee recommendations from the Audit Committee have all been adopted by exception resolution. We'll now go to Community and Resource Committee items. The same councillors, if you would like to pull one out because it needs to be debated or amended, please pull it out. Councillor Ree.
I'm not quite sure, but 12.2 CS1, I believe, will be called out because they're the alternative or not? Commemorative plaques, yes, because it's in red, yes? No?
Yeah, if you're not sure, it is now. Yep.
Yes. 12.2 CS2, Purple Beach program, which is also in red.
Yep.
12.2 FPA1, which is not in red. The shade.
Oh, sorry, got
12.2,
Yep.
one after another.
Yeah, got you now.
And I'm not quite sure with the 12.2 PS1 because that's partially in red but partially not. So I don't want to bring it out, but I'm not quite sure with the red.
No, it doesn't. Councillor Farrelly?
Yes, well, I do want to bring out 12.2 CS1. Thank you.
That's already out.
Oh.
Yep. Councillor Dudek?
Just want to pull out 12.2 TE3 and 12.2 TE4.
T2 and T3? Sorry, which numbers?
TE3 and TE4.
Sorry. Councillor, just so when I get to it, do I need to take those behind closed doors being tenders to discuss?
Yeah, just because I wasn't here for that part of the committee, so just a few questions. And yeah, it does need to be behind closed.
Thank you. Councillor Proud?
Page 135, that is open for an alternative
It's
recommendation.
been pulled out.
Yep.
Are there any others that need to be pulled out? Just keep an eye on as we get to them. So we'll start. The first one of those then is 12.2 CS1. It's a commemorative memorials and plaques policy. I believe there were some alt recs going around. And I will ask Councillor Hatton as chair of the committee if you have a motion.
At this stage, Mr. Mayor, I move the committee recommendation.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for the committee recommendation? Councillor Proud? Thank you. Is anyone opposed? Councillor Ree? Councillor Hatton?
No further, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Proud? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ree, if you can talk us through it.
Just quickly, I'd like to move that it be held over to a further community and resource meeting November for additional information, in particular that the consideration that it comes to council for council adoption. Also that I was just happened to be in Robinson Reserve the other day and there's another plaque there, so I thought we were tidying all those plaques up.
That's right, to be held over. So is there a seconder to hold it over? There's no support to hold it over, Councillor Ree, so if you want to...
as I said before...
Sorry, can I just get Councillor Hatton... No, it's all right, you can stand standing. Just Councillor Hatton, turn your mic off. Yep, go.
As I've said previously, I think it's a concern that we don't know where all the plaques are, and as said in the report, that it doesn't come to council. The staff have even said that they don't know where the plaques were, and I happened to be in Robinson Reserve on the weekend and sat on a bench with a plaque, and that's not in here either, so I think with the redevelopment of Robinson, it's a wonder we didn't find that plaque. So I think it's those sort of things that we need to know and why they're in, and councillors have even asked around the table, even if it's our ward, why don't we know what plaques are in our ward and what for? And some of the plaques that are in my ward, I don't know what for, and some of the information they can't find. So I do believe we need to tidy that up, and I do believe that we should have some sort of protocol, and that's why I was asking for it to be held over so that it would give time for the officers to re-look at some of these anomalies in the policy. I think it's really important that if we are going to give plaques to people, places, whatever, trees, cats, whatever we might do, that we actually verify to the ratepayers why are we having this plaque. I mean, we've got so many fantastic people in the city of Stirling. Some are still alive, some are departed, that it would be really good to recognise, and some we have. And I think that shows our cultural heritage, which is really important. But if I don't know where they are, and someone's put it up years ago, and we have no register of it, I think that's extremely sad. And I think it would something that would be great to have on our website to say we acknowledge these people for all the things that they've done. And to me, I think it's really important. But at this stage, I don't know where they are, what they're for, and anybody can put it in because it's strictly the officers. And because they don't need to tell us as councillors, I find that a bit sad.
Thank you. Now, I have got three councillors. I've got Councillor Farrelly first, and I believe you have an amendment to that effect. Then I've got Councillor Dudek, then I've got you.
Look, I appreciate where my co-councillor from the WV ward is referring. I'm more than happy, though, to progress this rather than keep it in the back blocks all the time. We've got a list now of those.
Did you have an amendment, Councillor?
Yes, the amendment I have is that the council adopts the amended commemorative memorial and plaque policy as shown in the on the board, that under the general memorials and plaques subsection insert the words, any approved general memorials and plaques will be communicated to ward councillors prior to installation.
Thank you.
This will mean
That's
that...
right. Just wait. Councillor Hatton, are you happy to add that in? By addition, or would you like this to be a separate?
Mr. Chair, by addition, that's what we're reading in the alternative at the back of the sheet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, Councillor Farrell is just asking, can we add in that any of the approvals would be communicated to ward councillors?
Okay, I'm happy, but I do have a question to the officers. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask now.
Well, let's just see if Councillor Proud is...
No.
No, okay. So it won't matter. So if you'd like to move that as an amendment, Councillor, is there a seconder for Councillor Farrelly's amendment? Councillor Dudek is happy to second that. Is there anyone against the amendment? Do you want to... You can, and you've got one up here too.
I've just got for clarification.
Yeah, I'll just get Councillor Meekdale's clarification first.
Is this the alternate recommendation?
Number 2?
No, number 1.
No, this is number 2. Councillor Farrelly's at the back. They're not mutually exclusive. They can both go in there if people want them both in there. Councillor Farrelly's amendment that she's seeking is that under the general memorials and plaques subsection, just insert the words that any improved general memorials and plaques will be communicated to ward councillors prior to installation. So it's not changing any intent, it's just asking that councillors be notified, which is something that councillors normally ask for. Not yet, you can't. So we've got Councillor Farrelly and Councillor Dudek. Is there anyone opposed to that, or do you want me to put... You've got a clarification, Councillor Reid? Yep.
So this means still that the officers approve it, the council doesn't approve it.
Yeah, it doesn't change any of the policy. It
So
just says that councillors will be notified on those specific memorials.
So we still don't know approve it, and we may not even know where it is. So we can't go.
It's not to debate. You're trying to debate the original again.
I'm just saying. I'm just clarifying. It still.
It's very clear to me. It's not changing any intents other than notifying councillors. So we got a move and a seconder. Would you like me just to put the amendment to see if it's got support? We're happy for that. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think we need to debate the amendment. No. Otherwise, I don't think there is. This is. I am very clear, councillors. This is purely alt rec number 2, Councillor Farrelly's amendment that she's put on the screen. I'll put that to the vote. Thank you, and that is carried 11-1. Thank you, councillors. So that amendment is there, Councillor Farrelly, so that forms part of the substantive.
You win.
Do you need to speak any more? Are you happy with that?
Well, in regard, I'm just looking at the one above as well, and I think
you don't have to worry about the one above.
No, but I think they refer to different things.
They clearly do, as
Yeah,
I've already ruled.
yeah, okay.
They certainly do.
Yeah, different sections.
Councillor Meekdale?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just point of clarification again. I just want to make
Councillor
sure...
Hatton, can I get your microphone off? And Councillor Farrelly, yours off as well. Thanks. Go.
Per the alt rec number 1, I would like to move an amendment to incorporate that as well into the substantive.
Sure. And this one is that under the memorials that raise awareness of specific issues subsection, insert the words by council after the words applications to install memorials in support of initiatives that recognise victims and raise awareness of specific social issues impacting the community will be considered. So it's just saying will be considered by council. No, just wait a sec. So Councillor Hatton, are you happy to add those 2 words in?
Yes, I am, Mr Chair.
Councillor Proud, yes. So that is added in. It probably addresses some of your concerns, Councillor Ree. Everyone's happy? That's in. It's part of the substantive motion. Now, does anyone have any problem with the actual substantive motion? No, I'll put that to the vote. Look at you guys go. Well done, and that is carried. Councillor Thornton voting against. I think that was... That's all right. It is unanimous. Let's record it as unanimous. The old moving colours as you press the buttons trick. Thank you, councillors. We'll record that as unanimous. Thank you. We'll now go to item 12.2 CS2. It's a purple bench program. There's an alt rec in the back. Councillor Hatton as chair of the committee.
I'm happy to move the committee recommendation. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder for that, Councillor Lagan. Did you want to second that with a slight amendment? I haven't got the alt rec.
What I want to move is the alt rec.
Well, someone's already moved the motion. That's what I'm getting at. So
Then I'll...
I haven't got them in front of me, so I'm trying to work out what the difference is. So all the black is the original motion? Yeah, so Councillor Lagan, would you like to second it by asking the mover if he would accept those words?
Yes, if we could, the inclusion of that.
Are you happy to accept just that time frame in there?
Yes, I am, because there was a debate on time frame, yes.
Because that makes it very simple, and then it just becomes a substantive motion. Is anyone opposed to that? Councillor, have you got a question, or you're opposed to it? Just a question, I'll allow it. Councillor Hatton, do you want to turn your mic off again, please? Councillor Perkoff, can you keep an eye on Councillor Hatton's microphone, please? Councillor Ree?
My question is whether or not, originally it doesn't say it's coming to council, but is it going to come to council and are the ward councillors going to be notified, or does that require a recommendation? Because I know a purple bench went in my ward and I never knew about it.
No, it will, and that was part of the policy that was just endorsed by council, where ward councillors will know about it.
Before?
Yes. Yep. There you go. No one opposed. We'll put that to the vote. Thank you. That is unanimous. We'll now go on to item 12.2 FPA1. It's a natural shade for the admin centre forecourt. It's been pulled out. And Councillor Hatton is chair of the committee.
Yes, I move the committee recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councillor Migdale has seconded.
I'm talking about the alternative.
Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree is opposed, so I'll go to Councillor Hatton. Yeah, I've got... Councillor Hatton, your motion?
Can you tell me, was that an alternative?
No, it's your motion, so we just want the...
Yeah, no further, Mayor.
So, committee recommendation, you're moving... Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. Yep.
Yes.
I've got Councillor Migdale seconded.
Sorry, I actually thought we were moving the alternative recommendation, so I don't support committee's recommendation.
It's all right. If you stay supporting it, we can deal with that probably, because Councillor Proud is next.
Oh, should I foreshadow it?
Well, I
no.
No. If it,
can I do that?
I would just, well, Councillor Proud is next, so I'm pretty sure that's
Okay,
about what
fine.
she's about to do anyway.
All right,
So,
thanks.
Councillor Proud, this is the alt rec.
Okay. This is page 141, right? Alternative, the officers, yes? Yes, I thoroughly support that.
Thank you. So Councillor Proud supports it. Good. So we have Councillor Ree, you're opposed to this. Yeah, but you're opposed. So then I've got Councillor Lagan, but you're, yeah. Would you like to speak against it, is what I'm saying? Or what are we waiting for? Yeah. It's done. We're already at you. Let's
Okay,
go.
I didn't know. I'd read. Yes, I oppose this because I do not believe that it's necessary to spend $150,000 on the front forecourt. While I agree that it does look like a bit of a concrete jungle, when we have activities there, we've got they've got to bring trucks in, they've got to bring different things in, and I think that would be harder to get around the trees, number one. Number two, I think we can put planter boxes in that can have trees, which would be a lot more reliable than spending $10,000 to rip up the concrete to try to put a tree in, which is going to be under shade anyway, and I've got no guarantee that it will live unless we have a good arborist. So I don't agree with that. I do believe that there's a lot more projects within the city that would be deserving of that money more than what this would be. And it could easily be looking better with some planter boxes, and we can still put more trees right out the front. But to spend this amount of money on cutting up concrete just for a few trees, that have got no guarantee to live, and we know that because we only have to look outside at the car park. Sorry, that way at the car park. That way at the car park. That car park, they've been there for 20 years, and they're not happy trees still. And actually, they were put in beforehand. So
thought they looked
then
right.
when we put around them, they should have been actually looking a lot better for 20 years. So we see that all the time when we put trees in medium strips. We're just doing that in Yokine.
They've got more chance than a planter box, councillor.
Well, I know, but you could put nice trees in a planter box. That would be bushy. That would actually bring some oxygen. That would bring some greenery. That would look nice. One of the reasons we've actually got a bit of shade out there. One of the reasons the trees are so good are for birds and for shade, etc. We've already got shade, and I don't know what the birds would feel like coming in there. Probably a bit hot and bothered, but you know, I don't think that this is a good use of ratepayers' money. I don't believe that, you know, the people that love their concrete would probably be upset about you doing that too, I might add, of all the work and that went into the concrete 20 years ago argument. So to me, I do believe that we should green it up. I don't believe in this particular plan. If you did 1 and 2, I would consider it in the budget review if you had a different plan, but I cannot endorse the plan as it is now because I think we've got other priorities in the city, and I just think it's a shocking amount of money to be spent.
Thank you. I do just want to clarify, there was something in the plan that specifically talked to the access and being able to still access the building, so that was all built into it. And Mr Murphy has given a guarantee on the trees. Was there anyone else who wanted to speak on this item? Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'm not opposed, but I just want to modify the alt rec and change point 2. Do you want my wording?
Yep, let's see what you got.
So at the end of point 2 where it says as part of the 2023-2024 mid-year budget review, I just want to add and possible phasing of work into 3 stages over concurrent financial years. And I have concern over the lump sum upfront payment, so I wanted it spread.
Let me just check how that would impact on the work. Would that be Mr Kellick? Mr Kellick, would you want to provide some advice on the current plan of works and how that would work in?
Thanks for the question through you, Mr Mayor. At this stage, it's actually a concept plan, so we haven't detailed design and considered in detail how it could be staged. There's definitely opportunities to stage, so perhaps if we include something about consideration of staging,
and I think that's
we could
intent,
work with
it does
that.
say, yeah, and considers possible phasing of the work. So it can be considered at that
yeah.
stage, and we'll have more information then. So it doesn't change the intent, it's just asking that Council will also at that time consider possible phasing. Councillor Hatton and Councillor Migdale, how do you feel about that?
Yes, Mr Chair, I think the addition is quite simple. To number 2 of the motion, it's simple to could use the word considers. If it didn't have the word considers, I'd probably be a little bit worried about it, but I think it's fine, thank you.
Councillor Migdale,
But I don't feel quite as at ease with it, and I certainly take issue with 3 stages. Potentially, you know, if you're going to be cutting through concrete, essentially that's what needs to be done.
Can I try to help this out? Sure, can I try to help this out? Councillor Lagan, are you happy just to say, and considers possible phasing of the work over consecutive financial
Yeah,
years.
absolutely. Thank you.
And that takes
This
out.
is the forecourt, though. We don't want we don't want 2 years of the forecourt
No,
looking
but I think given
horrid.
I get that, but let's just check. Mr. Calick has already said it's only in the very preliminary stage, so chances are it would be anyway, and it only says considers. I'm happy to put it to the vote if you don't want to. Is it a cautious yes? That, yeah, and that's what would be considered at the mid-year budget. So I think that was a cautious yes, which gets us into the stage that just becomes the substantive with a twisted arm. So given that, if there's no one opposed, well, there is someone opposed, but Councillor Proud.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Kellick, I think, was it not, did this not come up at committee? We spoke about it at length, that this would have to be in consideration with the annual budget every single year. So it's going to take as long as it takes for councillors to adopt a budget with this included.
And the simple answer is yes. All right, so I will go to Councillor Hatton and ask if you'd like to close debate or if you're happy to...
Happy to accept those two changes.
Let it rest,
Yep,
and
let it
we'll
rest.
put that to the vote, councillors. I think I've just got one more to go, so that's it, and that is carried with Councillor Reeve voting against. Thank you. What we will do now, councillors, item 12.2 T3 and T4 we will remove from the community and resources, and we'll deal with them as confidential items at the end as they relate to tenders. And given that, I will ask Councillor Hatton to move the balance of reports, please, Councillor.
I'm happy to move the balance of reports. Thank you.
Thank you. And seconded Deputy Mayor Proud, and I'll put those to the vote. Just got one more again. I think I've got Councillor Farrelly, if you can just vote, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors. Members of the gallery and those viewers at home, the remainder of the Community and Resource Committee recommendations have been adopted by exception resolution, which brings us to the Direct to Council reports. Item 13, we have 13.1, the trackless tram trial on page 247. Councillors, do I have a mover of a motion, please? Councillor Lagan.
Officer's recommendation, thanks.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Proud. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree. Councillor Lagan.
Look, Mr. Mayor, the explanation and the planned work and information was very clear, and the officers have made that clear. This is an exciting project for us and for Western Australia.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor?
Just quickly, this has been very high on the city's agenda for some time. It's a priority. We need to move forward on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ree?
Thank you. The Stirling City Centre is a major priority that's been hanging around for nearly 20 years, which we don't seem to be moving as fast as what we should do with extensions and roads and traffic and congestion, and the fact that we were supposed to have 30,000 people living down the road here, which still, we've only got a few people living under trees.
I will just clarify, councillors, you are entirely correct that it's been a long-term plan of the city. You're not correct, however, in those 30,000 people. There's never been a time frame on the Perth Appeal 3.5. Whilst planning for future population with the planning frameworks, it doesn't matter if it happened 5 years ago or in 5 years' time or 50 years' time. That population is planned for. That's all it is. Continue.
The object of the Stirling City Centre project was to get 30,000 people in, and yes, I probably will be dead before we get them, yes. It doesn't have a time right.
Hopefully not.
But it was supposed to be done in a timely manner, not a decade later. With the whilst this is still a state government issue, and even though on the financial implications it does not state in here how much council time it's costing, and it is costing a lot of time on officers, trips to China, trips for staff, going over there. I mean, like it's becoming a bigger exercise. We already spent a lot of money, and I can't recall the actual figure, but I will ask Mr. Rodrigues to actually comment on it. But we spent a lot of money on the ratepayers in 2005 to 2008 on trackless trams, doing the roadworks, everything else to try to make it better, and then it stopped. We can't move forward in this unless we start moving the rest of it. And it's not really a priority when we look at the whole scheme of things. And this is public transport, which is a state government issue.
Councillor, have your views changed in the last 20 years on Stirling City Centre? Because I did some reading today, and when you were trying to get on council, as a Woodland Progress Association, you specifically said the public transport systems around Stirling, Innaloo and Woodlands is disgraceful and needs to be upgraded. This could be achieved by monorail or light rail down Scarborough Beach Road.
Glad you have the time to read nice things about me, Mr Mayor.
I do.
That is a privilege.
So
and an
you should be
honour to
proud
hear
your
Absolute
vision is
privilege.
coming to fruition, councillor.
Not at the cost of ratepayers. It is a state government issue, not a ratepayer issue. We've got lots of things. Women's Shed, which a lot of women could actually do with, then putting more money into a state government issue. But I'd like to hear Mr Roddick's comment, please, on your comment about the Stirling City Centre and the housing and where this is a priority and how much money we've spent so far.
Thank you. Mr Roddick.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor, I think you're talking about, I guess, the projections through this Stirling City structure plan, which was probably envisaged over a 30 to 40 year period. There was a long-term plan to achieve that growth, and you are quite correct that we haven't seen that growth yet, but we are very keen to see it, the population in that area grow in the future. But it was a long-term plan. It wasn't, I guess, linked to Perth and Peel at 3.5 because it was done before that plan. It's a structure plan which was endorsed early in.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Yes, it was done before 3.5, the framework. However, it was supposed to be what's lifting the city, and because we had a brownfield site to which to be a catalyst to change. You know, like
So-
we're not like Switzerland that they built the track before the train to create jobs for people. Could I have an estimate of the cost that we've spent so far, please, from Mrs Hawkins, maybe?
I'm not sure on what, on the actual trackless tram business case.
The City of Stirling staff, the staff attending things, the staff costing and everything so far, because that actually should be in here.
So
These are
most of that is
ratepayers.
covered, would be covered in the business case. That's all costed through the business case. If you're talking specifically about the city's trackless tram that is federally funded, the costings would be in that. But we can certainly try to get some more breakdowns of estimated costs and staff time outside of that, and I'll get Ms Hawkins to provide you that as some sort of memo, but it can't be done right now.
So with the costing of Mr Fraser going a couple of years ago, and then the recent trip, and the cost of
They're all published costs, Councillor Reid.
thank you for that, cumulative costs. So what you're saying here in this financial one, on this public document, is there is no cost to the city whatsoever. All of this is federal funding because it doesn't say any line item in there to say it's costing the ratepayers any money at all. Am I correct in the way I'm reading this public document?
The report on that is clear that the federal funding for the trackless tram business case will be spent to do the upgrades to the car park. Some city municipal funds will be used that were already budgeted to a car park upgrade in the top car park, which will still continue.
So if that's the case, why isn't that written under the financial estimates?
It is in there. It is in the report.
In the financial estimates, it says the minor infrastructure work, which is currently set in the budget, but it doesn't say how much, and which allow entry from Cedric Street. The current estimate indicate approximately 180,000 for these works, with contingency funds available from the Capital Works program. But what you're saying is, to me, is that this is federal, but this.
No, it's a mix. There are two parts to it. What we're saying is the cost will be more than the upgrade of the car park. What we can't tell you is if the overflow car park is getting resurfaced, that is a fixed cost that will be currently planned for in the future budget, which will still occur, but there's additional cost to do some minor modifications to allow the vehicle to come off Cedric Street and through the car park.
So, so the cost associated with the symposium will be funded from ticket sales. We have a circus going on. What are we actually going to do?
I think you should retract that, councillor.
No, I mean,
It's clearly not a circus.
I mean, like,
I'm pretty sure there'd be some staff who are quite offended by that.
well, my apologies, wrong adjective. I meant in the sense that, you know, like getting on a train and going round is what I meant.
Yeah,
You know,
so that's a
like
trial
trip
part. So
thing.
the symposium is, as it says in the report, a partnership with Curtin University to have people from all around Australia who have a keen interest in this. There are several other states and infrastructure bodies, including all the state infrastructure bodies who are interested in viewing the vehicle, but also to find out from experts and have discussions around electric-powered vehicles, hydrogen-powered vehicles, the difference between the BRTs and the digital rail technologies.
So we're running the symposium, or is Curtin University running it here? Because that makes a difference
In partnership.
in partnership. So wouldn't that be written somewhere in here, like a proper thing under the financials, to say this is how much it's going to cost to run it, this is how much it's going to, not just you will get funding from the tickets?
As
I
it
mean,
says,
some of it is buried in the report. However, under the finances, shouldn't it be written out
Well,
there clearly?
and I'm sure officers are happy to provide you with full financials once they're there, but I think it's very early stages, and that's why it's just asking for council to approve the idea of using the city reception hall for a transit symposium, because council have to approve the use of the city's reception hall.
But are we not approving something which doesn't have any costing attached? Because you're saying in here, costs associated will be
Pretty
funded.
sure it talks about it being a zero budget line item in the
Well, it's
report.
supposed to be net zero, but, you know, one never knows these days with things. So, but wouldn't that be in the business case? All I'm asking for is just accountability in the financials, because a lot of people have spent a lot of time and money, ratepayers, taxpayers, on trying to get a lot of these projects off the ground. And
Yes.
it starts, it stops, it starts, it stops, and people say to me, well, you know, like, what have you got to show for it? So what I'm saying is, you know, like, if we're a bit clearer
And in
our
November, you'll have
financials-
something very big to show for it, councillor.
Well, if it was a bit clearer in the financials, I think people wouldn't be questioning so much.
Thank you, councillor, and we'll provide you any of that detail you're looking for. I've got councillor Dudek.
Yeah, thank you. I actually have a very similar concern to what Councillor Reid just brought up. With, do we have an idea of the costs associated with the Transport Symposium?
Ms Wollstonecroft, can you provide just a bit more information of the information you have currently?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we do. So what we've done is we have costed the conference based around a charge of $600 per head for the conference. It's a 2-day conference. We're working with Curtin University on that. All costs associated with the conference and associated events will be covered under that charge at a minimum attendance of 120 people. Which we are very certain that we would get that number of people to the conference.
So we're certain that the costs of running it will be under 60,000,
Yes, definitely.
and we'll get 100 people there.
Just through the
Yes,
chair.
yes.
Sorry,
Councillor.
through the chair.
Yep,
My apologies. Yes, that's okay.
Yeah, no, we're part of a wider working group with people from Department of Transport in Victoria and New South Wales, various people right across the country that are coming to see the trackless tram, and they discuss the various business cases that are happening throughout Australia. So there's 5 at the moment that various local governments and transport departments in other states are working on. They'll be coming together as part of that symposium to discuss and share information, learn from the research that's happened as part of those business cases to get this type of technology introduced in Australia.
Thank you. Councillor Dudek.
Just briefly, yeah, I think in future reports, it's even though it says the costs associated from the symposium will be funded from ticket sales, it is a good idea to just have the estimated cost of the event versus how much, you know, estimated ticket sales are.
Yeah, and acknowledge, and I would say, look, one of the reasons some parts of this, like this particular item, is purely to do with the caretaker period and ensuring that council get to see this before the caretaker period, whilst in an ideal world you probably would have seen the full report in a few more weeks. So happy to provide updates as this progresses, I'm sure. Councillors, anyone else? If not, Councillor Farrelly.
Look, it's a bit out there on the lateral edge, but I'm really just asking the Director of Planning, and does this lend itself, the trackless tram, to then revitalise that Stirling city centre? Does it actually allow a highlight to that? Because that is one thing that's been going on for about 30 years, isn't it?
Mr Rodish?
Through you, Mr Chair, absolutely, Councillor Farrelly. This is the type of technology, the opportunity we need to consider seriously to, I guess, provide the full potential of Stirling City Centre, but not just Stirling City Centre, Herds and Glendalough, Scarborough Beach. Those frameworks were purely based on a mid-tier transit system, and through the city's research so far, this is the best transit system the world has.
Thank you. The reason I asked through the Chair is that years ago I was a community representative for the city on looking at swimming pools, but we went to Glenelg and that had a tram heading down, and that was an incredibly popular corridor, and I understand now it's looking fantastic. So the setting something up in that manner can lead to wonderful opportunities further down the track. I'm actually quite pleased to see you doing a symposium as well and getting all the experts around, and if there's opportunities to sit into it, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, look, through you, Mr Mayor, look, this is a heads of agencies exercise. It's funded federally. There may be some minor funding from the city, but what was the title of the movie? Build it and they will come. That's what this is about. The bottom line is City of Stirling is the biggest municipality in Western Australia. We should be doing this kind of stuff, and we should be promoting it both for our ratepayers. Let's not forget it's going to benefit our ratepayers, but also for all those people that visit our city.
Thank you, Councillor Lagan. That closes the debate, and I'll put that item to the vote. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 13.2 Community Grants Program Round 1 Large Grants. I have a mover of a motion, councillors. Councillor Hatton moving, Councillor Ree seconding. Is there anyone opposed? If not, I'll put that to the vote. Sorry, just a show of hands, councillors. If we can have a show of hands. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And item 13.3, Meeting Procedures Amendment Local Law. Mover of a motion, please. Councillor Meekdale moving the motion. Councillor Lagan is seconding the motion. Is there anyone opposed? If not, I'll put that to the vote. Show of hands, please, councillors. That is unanimous. And item 13.4, Benches at Inglewood Triangle. Do I have a mover of a motion? Councillor Lagan.
Officer's recommendation, thank you.
And seconded, Councillor Meekdale. Is there anyone opposed? And a show of hands. We'll go show of hands. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Funny we had a governance expert to fix that. Yep. That was an in-joke. I thought that was quite good.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to
laugh. Right. We will go to item 14. Notice a motion for consideration. Councillors, we have got time, so we can go through these. What I did suggest earlier, you've also got an option. We can pull the ones out that need to be dealt with separately and move the rest on block. There's a significant amount of council motions. What we would do then is we would move them on the assumption that the alt rec that has been provided by officers, so for example 14.8 and 14.9 is the one that would be moved. If you're happy to proceed that way, what I will do is just ask you if you'd like to pull your notice of motion out and deal with it separately, we can. Yeah, I'm happy to go that way, but what I don't want to do is force councillors. So there might be, for example, if there's a particular one in here you're not at all happy with either motion and it needs to be discussed, then let me know which one it is. We'll pull that out before we move them all on block. Councillor Farrelly?
I'd like to pull out 14.12, and also I wish to add another one to it, which is not there, but it links in with 14.10, which, although it's not traffic calming, it's...
So are you moving different motions than the ones that you've got?
No, I just want to talk to them.
Well, if there's no one opposed, that's what I'm
All
getting.
right, leave it, no.
Councillor Reid?
I'll accept the alternative motions with regard to the safeguarding policy and the police clearance, and I welcome to see how that will be addressed later. And it is not safeguarding, it's not just about trauma.
Councillor, thank you.
I might just make that comment, but because I had to do it as a
Just tell me
volunteer.
which one you'd like to pull out if you would.
14.4, please.
So 14.4 is the one that's coming out. So just to be clear, councillors, 14.1 and 14.2, there's alt recs on page 291 and 296. 14.3, there's an alt rec on 219. Then we have 14.5, 6 and 7. 14.8, there's an alt rec on 311, and 14.9, an alt rec on 314. And then 14.10, alt rec on 317, 14.11, an alt rec on page 320, and 14.12, an alt rec on page 324. With 14.4 removed, can I have a mover that we accept all of those notice of motions by councillors? Councillor Lagan has moved. Deputy Mayor has seconded. I will put that to the vote. And we've just got one to go, I think. Is that Councillor Farrelly? I think you've... Yep. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And we'll now go, Councillor Ree, your motion on 14.4. What would you like to do with it?
Oops.
Review of emergency calls procedure.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things. One is it really needs a review, and at the end of the report, it does say.
Councillor, you're debating something that hasn't
No,
even
no.
come up yet.
I'm saying that.
No, but I want a motion.
Well, my motion is on page 302, the alternative, right? And
Yep.
the second part, which I hope addresses the issues we've got at the moment, and it's not just about security guards. And the second part is somewhere. Oh, there it is. And the second part is that.
No, just read it, councillor. You're debating something that we haven't seen yet. So read your actual motion. So part 2, what is it?
I was just about to. I said the second
No, you keep
part
talking
is,
about
and then you talked. That a permanent and mobile sandbagging machine be purchased within the current budget as a matter of urgency to address the storm and drainage issues. And the reason for that is just last week I put up a motion 2013 for a sandbagging machine.
No, sorry, you're debating again, and I just...
I'm just saying my reasons for the motion.
Okay.
It's
Can I just ask,
because it's too far down for
through the
people to read.
directors, don't we have one?
No, it's rusted. We found out last week we couldn't use it for Wembley Downs. That's why I wrote the reasons for decision.
So, yep, so just before we ask for it, I just want to find out the implications, because it's a... So, Mr Murphy, I'm assuming you know a little bit about this. Can you just give us some information? Is this something that would happen anyway, and it's not an overly significant... I just don't want council to say we're supporting you and it's a $3 million machine, that's all.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm aware of the issue, that we do have a machine, but it's old and rusty, etc. So I've already approved the purchase of a new one within existing budget.
Perfect, so happy to accept that as your motion. Is there a seconder for Councillor Reid's motion? Councillor Farrelly has seconded. Is there anyone opposed? If not, I will put that to a vote. And yes, and officers will work with you on the process. That is unanimous. Well done, councillors. Good work getting through those. Councillors, there's no notice of motions to be raised. Aries, we'll let you one last chance. I was just tricking Councillor Farrelly.
Look, it's in regard to something that has been in discussion with both the Director of Infrastructure and Director of Planning.
Again, councillor, these just
All right,
the
I'm
motions.
trying to find it. Have you got it?
Just-
Issues at the moment, sorry. Have you got the paper? Oh, okay. No, I've got two.
Well, it doesn't matter which order.
All right. The first one is in regard to, if I can have it just a bit lower down. Thank you. The city requests Main Roads WA to reconsider the amount of time given to pedestrians to walk across West Coast Highway, that it be extended such that there is not a safety concern of turning cars on a green arrow driving at pedestrians still crossing the road. This has come up in the last, I suppose.
Thank you. This will come.
Yeah,
that'll come back.
Different traffic, different things happening, increase in population.
And your next one?
That the one that is still
Just
the
read
opposite,
the motion.
Read the word.
I want the notice
the
of motion.
officers' action remediation to ensure residents on the west side of Calais Road between, I think it's spelled Stewart with
It's EWART.
yeah, Stewart Street and Ewan Street have safe car egress and access to
be
their
an E,
properties,
yeah.
particularly those opposite the shops on the east side of Calais Road. So get rid of right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I'm sorry. The previous one of Councillor Farrelly's, I did have a quick question on that.
No, you don't get to have questions. It's just a motion to put for a future council meeting.
Sorry. Oh, this
So-
is proposed.
Yeah, so these are just proposing notice of motions that'll come back in a
It's on
future.
there,
They'll go
it's
out to the
green
ether
arrow.
and they'll come back after elections. Councillor Thornton, you've got a motion?
So this one has been on the cards for several weeks. It's that a report to be presented to council in early 2024 on opportunities to retain trees and canopy on private property prior to, during and after development, including strengthening related planning conditions.
Thank you. That will come back. Is there any others? Councillor Farrelly, can I get your mic off? That's it. There's no one else? Councillor Ola, you've got one? Yep.
Thank you. The city has been in discussion with DBCA for several years now, and they have recently advised they have no plans to construct a toilet at Herdsman Lake. Herdsman Lake is used not only by locals sorry, I'm reading my reason, sorry. I know, sorry, I apologise, I went down. The Mayor write to the Minister of Diversity, Conservation and Attractions, requesting that the state government make funding provisions in the next available budget to provide public toilets in the Herdsman Lake regional area. Did you want me to read the reason, or?
No, I don't know if that just has to say Department for Biodiversity, I think.
Yeah.
So it's DBCA. So it's just writes to the Minister of the Department for. It doesn't really matter, but it's. Yeah. Make sure it goes to the right place. That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? No. Thank you very much, councillors. Item 16, questions by members of which due notice has been given. I have nil. 17, new business of an urgent nature. I have nil. Item 18, matters behind closed doors. Going to get a mover and a seconder to go behind closed doors. Move Councillor Lagan, seconded Councillor Hatton. And a show of hands to go behind closed doors, councillors. That's unanimous. Thank you. The live stream will now be turned off. Wish you goodbye to those viewers at home. Thank you for viewing us tonight. It won't come back on, but the minutes of this meeting will have the resolution of the matter behind closed doors.